Hi friends, thank you so much for clicking this video. My name is Chesiyna and you are welcome. So today I have an exciting video for you. It's about perfectionism and I hope to show you how to beat the perfectionism matrix or how to get out of there. So this particular video actually started off as a blog post. I wrote a blog post July 7th of 2020 and I actually wrote it on my wellness or my clinical blog. So not my faith blog but my wellness blog. And I have to be honest, it talks about, tips on how to overcome perfectionism. I actually borrowed a lot, actually all of my points from a biblical perspective. So there are biblical applications to the post that I wrote. And I was like, you know what, it's time for me to make this video so that I can share all the lovely tips in an effort to assist you. So what I will start off by saying is that perfectionism has become a buzzword. Sometimes people actually wear it as a badge of honor and they say that, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And I think this comes from society. Society has set some golden standards or standards that are unattainable. So sometimes when people, look to society and look at what they say is perfect or what they say is good, they feel as if they need to adopt this perfectionism mindset so that they can live up to these standards. So I feel as if this is completely, this topic that I'm touching is so relevant to this world today. So I will be referencing my phone because, like I said, I wrote a blog post about it and I have some gems that I don't want you to miss. So I will be referencing here and there. So I'll start off by defining what perfectionism is. And I will quote Psychology Today. And this is what it says. Perfectionism is a trait that makes life an endless report card on accomplishments and looks. When healthy, it can be self-motivating and drive you to overcome adversity and achieve success. When unhealthy, it can be a fast and enduring track to unhappiness. Now, one thing that I want to highlight, actually two things, is the fact that life is an endless report card. Oh my goodness, just saying that makes me exhausted. Can you imagine that? An endless report card. So that means that there's no stopping to it. You have checks and things that you need to cross and double check so that it can be deemed perfect. I think that's an unattainable standard. Another thing is the fact that it is a track to unhappiness. I think this is self-explanatory. I don't think you can be happy or really enjoy yourself if you have a perfectionism mindset or traits. So I know there's some people who can right off the bat tell me, Heather, I'm a perfectionist and I know I'm one. Or other people might say, oh Heather, I don't know if I'm one. So I think it just takes some time of you just in reflection, just to see if you have these traits. So just take time to reflect and see if this is something that you need to be aware of and hopefully change. Okay? Now, another thing is that some people say, oh Heather, you know what? Perfectionism is not bad. It's actually healthy because it helps me get motivated and be successful. But honestly, I do not think there's anything like healthy or positive perfectionism. I don't see it that way. I only see it as an impediment, just something that is like an obstacle to you reaching your full potential. That's how I see it. Perfectionism sets unattainable standards. And with that, I want to mention three things that I pointed in my blog post. Chasing perfection is futile. Chasing perfection can be self-destructive or lead to self-sabotage. Chasing perfection can lead one to be insatiable. That means that you're never satisfied, okay? With the progress and never acknowledge the strides and the achievements they have made. So if you have made small strides into something, you might be like, oh no, I've not done anything at all. And I think that's such a dangerous way to live life. So I know that perfectionism is a spectrum. There are some people who are way on the other side of the spectrum, other people are on the other side. So it's just up to you to reflect and see where you are and hopefully change. For me, honestly, I think I had this tendency when I was at work, when I was in the work, actively working, and there was a switch when I started noticing these biblical principles. And I'm telling you, that's when I feel as if I started really enjoying myself, and I actually made huge gains that I would have never ever achieved if I had this mindset. So I hope you're ready. If you want, take a deep breath and let's begin. My first tip for you is to adopt a growth mindset. A growth mindset is basically cutting yourself some slack. It means that you are starting from where you are and with what you have. So it's not that you're being perfect, it's just, hey, this is where I am, this is what I have, and this is how I'm starting. And I think it's such a kind way and a kind approach to life. So with a growth mindset, you might say, hey, I want to start a YouTube channel, but guess what? I don't have a DSLR. I just have my phone camera. That's fine. You're going to grow from it. So adopting that mindset is really good because you'll start, and there's a lot of fun in just trying stuff, and you're allowing yourself to make mistakes and learn from it. So you're seeing mistakes as learning opportunities. It's not, oh, I've made a mistake, now that's it, I've lost my chance. No, you don't have that mindset. So what I said over here is when you adopt a growth mindset and allow yourself to make mistakes, you see that as a learning opportunity and not failure. Okay? So I know you're thinking and you're wondering, Heather, what is the biblical reference? So, drum roll, it is David. David had a growth mindset. He was a poster child for growth. And I'll put something on the screen for you to follow for a few seconds as I explain this. Of course, this is just a truncated truncated history or chronological history of his life. So here goes. At the age of 11 to 15, he was anointed as king by Samuel. At age 19, he defeated Goliath. But hold up, it says that he admitted to killing a lion and a bear, okay, before that. 19 to 28, imagine, he is a king, but he is still winning, and he's still in the battlefield, winning military battles. He is not in the king quarters. He's not in kingly clothes yet. He's not in the palace. Okay, at age 28, he's in Ziklag, and let me tell you, Ziklag was not the place to be if you read the Bible, okay? It was not a glamorous place, but he was in charge of 600 men, only 600 men at that point. At age 30, we finally see the glimmer of the physical manifestation of him being king. And what happens? He becomes king of Judah only. And at age 37, 7 years later, he becomes king of the entire Israel. Oh my goodness. He was king, and people would think, someone who doesn't have, any biblical knowledge of this particular story, they would be like, oh my goodness, he's king. He just, as soon as he was anointed by Samuel, he would be walking in the king's quarters or the palace, and he has his crown on his head. But that was not the case. He had time to grow and steward his big responsibility. So I think this is really, really important you have to grow. If you are called to be a kingdom financier, to own a multi-million-dollar property or a business, you will start by being a steward of $100, $1,000, $1,000, and so on and so forth, until you arrive at that multi-million-dollar place. So I think having a growth mindset is really good, and I think it's really important, because if you have a growth mindset, you'll always start with what you have. But if you have a perfectionism mindset, it can be debilitating. It can be paralyzing. You may not even start something that God has laid in your heart or impressed in your heart, because you're like, oh, I have to be perfect. So that's my first step. Adopt a growth mindset. It's okay to start with what you have. Remember what Moses was asked in the Bible: what do you have in your hand? And he had a staff. So what do you have in your hand? Start with that. And guess what? It's okay. My next point is for you to have a spirit of excellence. This is one of my most favorite points out of everything. And one thing that I have to note is excellence is not a financial status. It's not a destination. It's actually an attitude. I repeat that. Excellence does not mean that you have a financial status. It does not mean that it's a destination where you arrive. It's actually an attitude. That means that you can have it right here, right now. You can set your mind or change your mindset to be excellent. It's a state of mind. So what I would ask you is, what do you need to do to change your mindset? Do you need to have biblical affirmations? Do you need to read the word? Do you need to go to therapy and learn how to combat negative thoughts that are paralyzing you? Remember, it is a mindset, okay? It's a state of mind. Now, spirit of excellence is really lovely. It's really lovely. I think if you replace perfectionism with excellence, it will be the game changer. At least it was for me. So, I know what you're thinking. What is a biblical reference? I know you already know. It is Joseph and Daniel. And there are many people in the Bible who had this spirit of excellence. But I want to highlight Daniel. And why do I want to highlight Daniel? Because there are multiple verses that actually state, they say he had a spirit of excellence. And I think that's Daniel 6:3 and Daniel 5:12. Let me just pull them up so that I can read maybe one or two. Okay, so let's start with Daniel 6:3. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and the princes, because an excellent spirit was with him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So as I told you, it's not a financial status. He wasn't a president, he wasn't a prince, but he had an excellent spirit. And also 5:12, it also mentions, among all the things that he was, it says, because he had an excellent spirit, he had knowledge, he had understanding to interpret dreams, and so on and so forth. So Daniel and Joseph were those people who had excellent spirits. And one thing that I can tell you is one of the hallmarks for having a spirit of excellence is reliance on God. So you're not relying on yourself and on your gifts. If you look at Daniel, if you look at Joseph, they did not rely on the fact that they were very good with all these things. They actually relied on God. So that's one hallmark. If you want to have that spirit of excellence, you can ask for it. I've asked for it many times. So you can just ask, God, I want this spirit of excellence to be able to serve you. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that the spirit of excellence and also the growth mindset work in tandem. So it's kind of like a synergistic effect where, if you're able to work on one and the other, it's going to be really beautiful, and they'll work in tandem. So that's something that you have to note. Another thing which I need to stress is for you to have a spirit of excellence, it really depends on you walking authentically in your gifts, okay? Walking authentically in your gift and your purpose. So you have to be, take the time to understand, okay, what does my purpose look like, and walk authentic, be authentic to it. Like for me, I have to be authentic with my purpose here on YouTube. Am I a preacher? No. So you'll never, I won't come here and, unless God leads me, I won't come here with my hat of, oh, I'm a pastor. Because guess what? I'm not a pastor, but I've been called, I believe one of my callings is to motivate people. So I will come here with my, motivation and, my, sometimes I'll wear my clinical hat, sometimes I'll wear other hats, but I know I'm here to motivate people and challenge people to walk authentically in their gifts. But, I would be inauthentic if I was to come here and now start imitating other people who are saying this and doing that. I'm gonna stay in my lane. So just make sure that you keep that in mind. And let me see if I missed anything else in this particular thing. So it mentions just the fact that excellence means a quality of being outstanding. That means that you're putting your best foot forward. You're doing the best with what you have. So I think that's it. That's it. And another thing that I wanted to mention also is Proverbs 23:7, where it says, "For as he thinks in his heart, so is he." And again, it all ties to mindset. All ties to mindset. So I don't think it's ever too late for you to be able to rewire your mindset. I've done that many times over, especially in my 20s, having to rewire myself, with biblical truths. So just go ahead and do that. But that's my next point, which is spirit of excellence. My next point is bite-sized chunks. Usually with perfectionism, or people think that, okay, if I have to do something, I have to do it in one swoop. That way, I've done it well. No, you don't have to do that. You can actually divide and dice and chop your responsibilities and your projects and your goals so that it's in manageable chunks that you can be able to digest. So just a quick example, if you have a book that is 500 pages that you really, really want to read, and you have never read a book of that size, and you don't like reading books, in general. So what you can do is, okay, so maybe I can go ahead and, break this up and maybe read a chapter a day and see how far that I go. So that's something that you need to do. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention is if you do this and if you really, pace yourself, what will happen is that it will really improve your self-efficacy. So you're like, oh, I read 2 chapters, okay, now I can keep going. And the momentum, it's just going to snowball and you'll be able to achieve all your goals. It's really going to boost your confidence. And that's something that I wanted to mention that I wrote down. And I said, this is super important because it can also lead to self-efficacy, which is your confidence in your ability or your can-do attitude. When you meet that goal, you have a greater confidence that you can continue to meet the rest. And guess what? It will compound over time. Another thing that I mentioned is you can attach a project with smaller goals that compound to larger ones. So yeah, I think that's really important for you to do that. You don't have to do everything in one swoop. It will really build your confidence when you're able to really achieve those goals in bite-sized chunks. So if you're someone who is setting lofty goals and you're like, oh, I have to finish this by the end of this week and it's so unrealistic, you can just try to pace yourself, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to pace yourself. Don't really put yourself in that pressure cooker and have yourself to do things that will cause you to suffer burnout. So yeah, that's it for this point, bite-sized chunks. Okay, so my final point is realistic goals. This actually ties with my third point, but I decided to split it because I have a bombshell that I want to tell you about realistic goals. So, there is this thing about you have to be realistic with your goals. You have to set SMART goals, which I'm a firm believer of it, right? But guess what? With faith, things kind of look different. And why do I say this? God can call you to break down barriers, to be a pioneer. So in as much as we have to set realistic goals and stuff, what I would tell you is, please do not limit yourself. If God wants to do a new thing in you, break down barriers, as I said, pioneer in something. Guess what? It might not look realistic. It might not be deemed realistic by society. But according to His will in your life, so God's will in your life and your purpose, it totally looks different. So that's what I wanted to mention, is realistic goals mean different from different people, especially when faith is attached to it. And that's what I wanted to stress. Please don't limit yourself. What I can say is ask God and pray for discernment so that you can understand your purpose. And for you to understand your purpose and to understand, how do my goals look like? How are they supposed to look like? I think it's so important because sometimes we shortchange ourselves because we're like, oh, no one has ever done this ever in my community. No one has ever done this in my family. It's unrealistic. Guess what? With faith, oh my goodness, it's a substance, as it says, it's a substance that, you cannot put any chains on it. You can't put limits. So that's what I wanted to say. So let's see what I wrote. So there is a caveat here. Sometimes God will push you to do something that seems impossible in the physical. Faith is different. You can't put limits on it. Realistic goals vary. My goals and my purpose can look ridiculous to someone else. Some people can be called to pioneers and break down barriers. Stay in the spirit. That's how you get realistic goals. So that's just what I wanted to let you know is, realistic goals look different for everyone. So just be in line, be in the spirit, and understand your purpose so that you can find what realistic means to you. So yeah, that's it for my 4 points, guys. I've come to the end of this video, and I know that you're out of the matrix, I know you're out of the matrix. I'm speaking it to existence. So that's it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into this particular video. If it's blessed you, just go ahead and share, like, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.